What if I told you that a man with just $100 in his pocket, no rich family, no powerful connections, no elite degree, managed to turn that small amount into over $1 million? It sounds like one of those fake internet stories, the kind designed to grab attention but lacking any real truth. But here's what makes this different. This story is not about luck, not about going viral overnight, and definitely not about winning the lottery. It's about something far more powerful and far more accessible. This man didn't stumble upon wealth. He built it, step by step, decision by decision. And the most surprising part? The strategy he used is so simple that almost anyone watching or reading this can begin applying it today. Yet, despite its simplicity, very few people ever succeed in following it. Why? Because it demands something most people struggle with: patience, discipline, and a completely different way of thinking about money. As you go through this story, you'll discover the exact steps he followed, the mindset that separated him from the crowd, and the critical mistakes that keep most people stuck in the same financial position for years. But more importantly, you'll start to see how your own financial journey can change, starting with even the smallest amount. At the beginning, he was like everyone else. At 20 years old, he had nothing saved, no investments, no financial plan, no backup, just $100 he had earned from a small side job. For most people, that money would disappear quickly, spent on food, clothes, or something temporary that brings a moment of satisfaction, but no lasting value. But on that day, he made a decision that quietly changed the direction of his entire life. He decided that this $100 would not be spent, it would be multiplied. That single decision may seem small, almost insignificant, but in reality, it represents a completely different mindset. While the people around him were thinking, "How can I spend this money?" he asked a different question: "How can I make this money work for me?" That shift in thinking is what separates those who stay financially stuck from those who build wealth over time. Instead of seeing money as something to consume, he began to see it as a tool, something that could grow, expand, and create more opportunities. He didn't rush into risky investments or chase quick money schemes. There was no jumping into hype trends, no gambling on uncertain outcomes. Instead, he made a simple but powerful move. He invested in himself. He used part of that $100 to start learning a skill, something valuable, something that people were willing to pay for. It wasn't glamorous. There were no immediate results, no instant rewards. For months, all he had was effort. He practiced, learned, failed, and tried again. This is the stage where most people give up. When there's no visible progress, when the results don't come quickly, when motivation fades, this is where 90% of people quit. But he didn't. He understood something that most people overlook. The beginning is always slow, and growth takes time. So he kept going, even when there was no guarantee it would work. Eventually, after months of persistence, he got his first opportunity. His first client paid him just $10. For many, that amount would seem too small to matter. It wouldn't feel worth the effort. But for him, it meant everything. Because that $10 was proof. Proof that his skill had value. Proof that the system worked. Proof that he was on the right path. From there, things started to build, slowly at first. $10 became $50, $50 became $200, $200 became $1,000. It wasn't explosive growth, it wasn't overnight success, but it was real, and it was consistent. And this is where his journey took a critical turn. Instead of increasing his lifestyle as his income grew, he made another powerful decision. He chose to reinvest. While others would celebrate small wins by spending more, upgrading their lifestyle, buying unnecessary things, he focused on upgrading his system. He invested in better tools, better learning, and better opportunities. He treated his income not as a reward to spend, but as fuel to grow. This principle, reinvestment, is one of the most important differences between those who build wealth and those who stay stuck. It's not about how much you earn, it's about what you do with what you earn. By consistently reinvesting, he created a cycle of growth that kept accelerating over time. By the age of 23, he had built multiple streams of income. He was no longer dependent on a single source. He had freelance work bringing in money, small online ventures generating income, digital products adding value, and even early-stage investments beginning to grow. He understood a simple but powerful rule. Relying on one source of income is risky, but building multiple streams creates stability and growth. As his systems expanded, something remarkable began to happen. His money started working for him. Instead of trading time for money, he began to see results from past efforts. This is where the true power of wealth building comes in, the compound effect. Small, consistent actions, repeated over time, begin to create exponential results. It's not dramatic at the start, but over time, it becomes unstoppable. By the age of 25, he reached his first major milestone, $100,000. For many, this would already be a life-changing amount, but for him, it was just the beginning. Because once the system was in place, once the habits were built, once the mindset was fully developed, everything started to accelerate. Opportunities became easier to recognize. Income streams became stronger. Confidence grew. And within a few more years, he crossed the mark that once seemed impossible. 1 million. But here's the truth. This story is not really about money. It's about principles. It's about the small decisions that most people ignore. It's about the habits that seem boring but create extraordinary results over time. It's about understanding that wealth is not built in a single moment. It is built daily through consistent action and disciplined thinking. The most important lesson is this: you don't need a large amount of money to start. What you need is the right mindset. Skills will always be more valuable than savings because skills create opportunities, and opportunities create income. Reinvestment will always beat spending because growth requires sacrifice, and consistency will always outperform talent because showing up every day matters more than occasional bursts of effort. Now take a moment to reflect. Most people will hear a story like this, feel inspired for a few minutes, and then return to their normal routines, scrolling endlessly, spending without thinking, delaying action, and years later, nothing changes. But a small percentage of people, those who truly understand, will take action. They will start small. They will stay consistent. They will think differently. Right now, you may have $100 or maybe even less. But that's not the point. The real question is, what are you going to do with it? Will you spend it for temporary satisfaction, or will you use it as a starting point for something greater? Because in the end, the difference between staying broke and building wealth is not luck. It's not background. It's not connections. It's decisions. Small, simple, daily decisions. And one day, if you choose wisely, you might look back and realize that everything started with that first step, that first decision, that first $100.